All right, good morning and welcome to this video. The question is from class 11 physics, NCERT Exemplar. Excellent question for a quick revision on the topic of law of conservation of momentum and kinetic energy. Okay, and especially the topic of collision. Okay, I found this question to be very nice and therefore I just picked this up. So let's read the question first. You have a ball which is moving with velocity v. These two balls are having no velocity, they are stationary. All the balls are of same mass. Now a collision happens, and the question is, you know, given information is collision is elastic. Okay, we have to find out after the collision which of the choices A, B, C, and D, which choice is a possible choice. All right, the good information which is given to us is that the collision is elastic. So, okay, so collision is elastic. How do you use that to your advantage is the main focus. Okay, so just for your knowledge, if the question says the collision is elastic, one thing you have to be very careful of is that the kinetic energy of the system after the collision. So kinetic energy, which is your initial kinetic energy, okay, the initial kinetic energy should be equal to, okay, initial kinetic energy should be equal to the final kinetic energy. This is very important. Okay, apart from the fact that the initial momentum, okay, initial momentum should also be conserved. So momentum is anyway conserved, even though if a collision is inelastic collision, the momentum may get conserved. So initial momentum is equal to final momentum. These are generally the two equations which are used. But for an inelastic collision, the main emphasis is this. In an inelastic collision, kinetic energy is not conserved. Okay, so let's look into the initial kinetic energy of the system and say, okay, so the initial kinetic energy of the system is only this, right? So the kinetic energy 1 is equal to half mv square. Okay, after the collision, let's calculate the kinetic energy of choice number A. This is 0. So half, okay, so these two are like acting as a single mass. They're connected to each other. So the total mass is 2m, and the velocity is of the combined two masses is v by 2 square is equal to half 2m v square by 4. Okay, so this is your mv square by 4. This is very important for you to understand this. Okay, so the kinetic energy is not equal to the initial kinetic energy. Let's calculate the final kinetic energy of second one. If you look into this, these two are at rest, so their kinetic energy anyway is 0, and the only kinetic energy is of that system. Okay, so half, I'm referring to final kinetic energy after the collision, so half mv square, right, of this particular component. So this is same as the initial kinetic energy, right? We are trying to find out which of the post collision scenarios. So all these scenarios are post collision, right? Four scenarios are there. So if you refer to scenario number 2, it matches. Let's do a quick calculation of C. So it is half 3m, because all the three masses are linked, and v by 3 whole square is equal to 3 by 2 mv square by 9, right? 3 threes are. So even this is mv square by 6. Okay. So now it is clear in your mind that the kinetic energy of B is is same as the kinetic energy of the initial situation. This is the initial situation. All these are final situations. We have to select the one which exhibits elastic collision. So if you refer to the momentum of initial momentum of the system, it is equal to, right, these two are stationary, and this is m into v. And if you look into the second one also has m into v. The momentum of these two is 0, m into v, right? So overall, if you see, the momentum is conserved in B. It is same as initial momentum, and the kinetic energy is also conserved. So I hope you have understood that the choice number B is the correct choice, right? I have done this in detail so that you understand how to solve the problems of elastic collision. Many questions will come, but I will give you some extra points on collision, okay, which you have to understand. Now, there are collisions which are inelastic collision. So the way you do inelastic collision is, obviously kinetic energy is one of the ways you solve elastic collision. But remember, there is something called as coefficient of restitution, which is equal to the ratio of the velocity, relative velocity. So V relative after collision. So this is final divided by V relative initial. Okay, so the relative velocity between the two bodies before. So this is when your two bodies are coming and striking each other. Okay, if the coefficient of restitution comes out to be 1, the the collision is elastic. Please go through my video on coefficient of restitution. When you study collision, it is very important that you understand the concept of the coefficient of restitution. And when I say coefficient of restitution, I mean E. E is the coefficient of restitution. Coefficient of this particular coefficient of restitution is a ratio of relative velocity after the collision and relative velocity before the collision. This is very important for you to understand. Three situations will arise. Elastic collision, E is equal to 1. E is less than 1 is an inelastic collision. Okay? And E is greater than 1 is a super elastic collision. I hope this is making sense. So my request to you is, when you do the chapter of collisions, do not stop yourself on these type of questions where you just have to, work on an elastic collision type of question. You may get questions where the scenario is, can be easily calculated using the concept of coefficient of restitution. Many collision questions will have a mention of coefficient of restitution, and you will have to choose the coefficient of restitution to find the unknown parameters with the help of this expression: relative velocity after the collision and relative velocity before the collision. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You like the concept of elastic collision. It has brought some clarity to you. You can expect some questions in your entrance examination and your school examination, or wherever you are, which are focused on collision. Don't worry about how many bodies are there. Stay cool, stay composed. Just focus on the choices, and work your way through using basic fundamentals. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It has got 2,000 videos, conceptual, explanatory, short videos, solve questions. You can practically do whole of the physics sitting at the comfort of your home. Better than a classroom, better than any application, better than any website, and you will get more clarity. The more clarity you have, better marks. Thank you very much, and wait for my next video.